Hey everybody, it's Tim Miller from the Bulwark. Make sure to subscribe to the feed. I'm here with our culture editor. I had to bring in an expert because there's a story this morning out of Puck. Our friends over at Puck, Matt Bellany, who's awesome on the Hollywood beat, and he has this Melania documentary that we've been talking about that Amazon bought. There's actually even more to it than we initially had heard. It's a $40 million payday. Melania herself is serving as executive producer, so it seems like that's gonna some of those millies are gonna go into her pocket for the traveling wardrobe, etc. We already mentioned the director Brett Ratner has some drama associated with him, to say the least. So I want to bring Sunny in on that, but it's not just one documentary. After the feature length film, there's going to be a follow up with multiple, I guess, episodes, 2 to 3 episodes on Amazon. And the other thing that we learned is this was not a single bid. Amazon, she got into a bidding war with Disney and Paramount for this documentary. This, I think, is very relevant, and I want to explain why. But Sonny, big picture, do you find this also as head turning as I do, given kind of the state of the streaming market when it comes to these types of projects?
Well, I'll say so. The $40 million is a lot. I don't think it's out of line with other similar packages for like the Meghan Markle show, right? Like this is celebrities, political celebrities, whatever. The interesting thing about this is, of course, the Trump of it all. It's the fact that the sitting president's wife is putting together a package that is involved in a bidding war with 3 of the 5 major media conglomerates. I think Netflix and Apple sat it out. They weren't interested. Netflix and Apple were like, well, we pass on this.
Good job, Reed
But
Hastings.
but CBS, which of course is Paramount Viacom, there's all sorts of merger rumors there, discussions there. The winner, of course, being Prime Video, which is a subsidiary of Apple or Amazon, which of course has its own issues with the government and regulation, et cetera, et cetera. So it's hard not to look at this and just be like, this is a legal bribe, is what this is.
This is a legal bribe.
And what's interesting, the other thing that was interesting in that Puck story, there were several interesting things in the Puck story. One was the actual number, which I hadn't seen before. The $40 million was new. But the other was that this is a package that was put together. Somebody, in Hollywood terms, packages, you assemble all the talent and you take it to the various studios and you shop it around and you create a bidding war, right? That's you're in the book industry. You know what that's like.
Well, I know I'm actually somewhat in this industry, which I'm going to explain to you in a second, because I have a little bit of knowledge about this from the circus, the experience with the circus. But continue.
Yeah, but so there was some discussion that this was a Prime Video project, that they were the ones who originated this, and like it was like clearly some sort of an effort to get in good with the Trump White House. And that is clearly not the case. Now, I don't know that it makes it any better that it was a bidding war situation, but it was, but
it makes it worse. I think
it does change things slightly. The other thing is, I mean, look, the Brett Ratner.
Okay, before we get to Brett Ratner, because I want to just stick on Melania. I want to get to the Brett Ratner because he seems gross as the director. But just like this package itself, the $40 million, there are two, I think, contextual points that we need to put here to accentuate the legal bribe element of it. Number one is Melania just sold a book. Melania. I have to admit, you hate to hand it to Melania. The cover, I liked the cover. A lot of people didn't like the cover. It was a very strange book cover. I thought it was cool. It stands out. I kind of hate most political book covers. I thought that my book had a great cover. Shout out Michael Beirut for putting that together for me. A great American. But her book didn't sell that well. I mean, right? So it's not like there was this proof of a huge market for Melania stuff. And there's good. Let's not pretend like there's goodwill towards Melania from MAGA voters, but it's not like there's this huge demand for Melania content out in the marketplace. There's not been any evidence of it based on the book side of things. Number two, the political documentary world is like dry right now. It is dry. And so for people who don't know, I was on this show called The Circus. I was a guest host. It was on Showtime, which is Paramount was the owner of. So one of the 3 bidders here. They canceled the show this year. And, without revealing proprietary information, I've been talking to different people about reanimating it, or reanimating something else related to it, or having another type of documentary political show out there. And like the message from everyone across the board is just nope, no interest in politics. Like it's too hot. The Trump era, it's too risky. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? Not worth it. Give me a throwback documentary. Like let's redo some. Let's do some '90s nostalgia. Let's do a BlackBerry movie. Like let's do something that is non-political. So like those two facts, like Melania's book not doing well, and there being a broadly dry market for contemporary political material, like again leads me to believe that this is a back scratch. Like that's a straight back scratch.
I mean, I think it's fairly obviously a back scratch. There was always Tim, you're clear. You must be aware of this. There was always a weird angst in the MAGA world that Melania was disrespected by like Glamour and other magazines, right? Like you have this literal model who is in the White House and she's not getting on the covers, and you put Michelle Obama on the covers, and this is clearly biased, blah, blah. So I'm sure there's, at least part of this, the theory of this thing beyond being, again, the legal bribe aspect is like, well, MAGA has said the conservatives want this. They'll come and watch it. I'm sure somebody has a pitch deck slide somewhere that's like, look at all of this anger on X.com.
Can I tell you, was there a doctor? Can you correct me on this? Was there a Dr. Jill Biden docuseries? Not that I can recall.
I can't remember.
The Dr. Jill Biden story.
The
last chapter of it might be kind of an interesting story. Now, the last chapter might be sort of interesting as she takes a dark turn in the final episode. Might be interesting now. I don't think it would have been interesting before. Yeah, I don't recall a Dr. Jill Biden. I don't recall any Doug Emhoff material in the works. I don't think of Kamala one. You're telling me that Jeff Bezos was going to buy a $40 million Doug Emhoff documentary? I've got a bridge to sell you.
You don't want to watch something about the first husband, the first husband?
I love Doug. Doug seems nice. I've met him twice. He seems like a good guy. I don't think that he's a huge. I don't think he's a huge ratings draw. Okay, so on top of the fact that this feels like a legal bribe, that the Amazon is just, and apparently Disney and Paramount too are going into straight suck up mode of the Trump administration, and there's some related stuff out there today with what Facebook is doing, which we have multiple other videos on. There's little interest about who's directing this too. It's a guy named Brett Ratner. I knew nothing about this person because I'm not in the culture world like you. I don't really care about directors that much, except for art film directors and gay directors. But so I hadn't heard of this person. I just looked at his picture and I was like, this guy seems like a douchebag. But that was basically the extent. And so Sonny, I want you to educate me on what is interesting about Brett Ratner being tied to this.
Well, Brett Ratner, remember this thing called Me Too? Tim, do you remember?
I do recall that. Yeah, that was a big deal for a while.
So Brett Ratner was one of the big names that got Me Too'd pretty hard. And look, he has denied everything that I'm about to say. I want to make that very clear. He has denied it. He has said he is innocent of all accusations. But he got Me Too'd and pretty much exiled from Hollywood, and was a big deal. I mean, he is the director of the Rush Hour films, which were huge hits. He directed the X-Men: The Last Stand, which a lot of people don't like. I have a mild soft spot for, but like he's a big deal director. He's made a lot of movies. Has directed a lot of films. Has a large box office gross. Was one of the biggest names to get canceled, for lack of a better word, in the Me Too moment, and for frankly good reason, if we are to believe the accusations. He was accused by Natasha Henstridge, the actress who was in Species and a bunch of other stuff. She accused him of forcing her to perform oral sex on her when she was 19, and he was directing music videos in his 20s. Olivia Munn, who I know folks like. I like Olivia Munn. She's great. She accused him of she was working as a food delivery girl or something on the set and brought him food, and he masturbated in front of her. He did the Louis C.K. thing, is my understanding. And
she's married to John Mulaney now, right?
She is, yes, she is with John Mulaney.
Yeah.
And look, he was very much part of the whole if you think of
he being
remember
Brett.
the show Entourage?
Yeah, of course.
Remember the HBO show Entourage?
Yeah, of course.
He is like the idea. Like I wouldn't say Entourage is based on him, but like he is like that kind of like bro. Like Hollywood is a playground for bros, and we're gonna do what we want. Very much into the casting couch thing. Again, these are all the accusations. So he has been fully excommunicated from. He has not shown up anywhere to do anything. I think he's been to Cannes a couple times on like yachts for parties, and like that's about it. And the real question is, the interesting question is, how did he get involved with this package? So I mean, obviously he's available to work. It's not like and anybody
that gets canceled, the greatest way to get uncanceled is to just go MAGA, which sort of undermines the whole notion that cancellation is an issue. If you can uncancel yourself just by switching political teams. But anyway, I don't know what is. Maybe he was traditional. Maybe he was Republican before. Maybe he was a big neocon. Who knows?
There's a big difference between going from Rush Hour to like whatever, if he's going to be making Angel Studios movie next. I don't know.
Okay, he's getting a good payday. I'm not cashing in like this. Yes.
I would assume he's getting a payday. The question is, how did he get involved with this? Yeah. And the interesting possible connection here is Stephen Mnuchin, who was part of. He was an executive producer who worked with Ratner on a lot of things. They co-owned, I believe, this production label, Rat Pack Studios. And I would assume there's probably a go-between element there. Stephen Mnuchin, I think, is widely considered to be the best of the first Trump cabinet members up there. He kept the economy from collapsing. Put it that way.
I was partial to Rex Tillerson, but yeah, sure, top two. It's a low bar.
Anyway, he's up.
I guess, does Gottlieb count? Scott Gottlieb did a very nice job handling COVID. Tough, maybe not a formal cabinet role. Mnuchin is the contact. That makes sense. That makes sense. That this is just a little comeback story for Me Too. It's a little depressing, that you get your Me Too comeback via a legal bribe from the top 3 richest men in the world to the wife of the incoming president. It's feeling Russian, I guess. It's not feeling Russian in the sense of like anti-speech or like invading Ukraine Russian. It's feeling Russian in like the oligarch, the yachts. Like we're doing deals on yachts. Deripaska and Oleg are meeting and they're figuring it out. There's a little bit of that.
I mean, I do think the closest analog we really have is to the book industry, right? Which is you see a lot of politicians getting big advances, et cetera, not $40 million advances, though $40 million covers production costs, et cetera. But, it's funny, on my podcast, Across the Movie Aisle, we talked about this a little bit, and it really does feel like this is the extending of the whole kind of celebrity video documentary culture thing. This is like the logical endpoint is these big puff pieces about sitting politicians and their families. I like the whole thing.
Late stage puff piece documentary capitalism, something like that.
It's something like that.
All right, people, you should check out Sonny's podcast. He has 2. He's being humble. Across the Movie Aisle and Bulwark Goes to Hollywood. If you like this little culture chat, I got to tell you, this one stinks for me. I wanted to get Sonny on because of his expertise, but having had a couple of meetings with agent types about political unscripted material, this one feels out of step with where the rest of the industry is. So we can just leave it there. We'll keep updating. Check out Sonny's podcast. We'll be back for more. Subscribe to the feed. See y'all soon.